Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Steph. I think this might be the first time we've recorded of a morning because we're normally a bit later in the day, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. I remember the last time we did morning and it was our Christmas episode, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember, but it's always interesting in the mornings because there still may be a little bit of brain fog, but hopefully not.
And then after the pod, it's like, I'm ready to face my day now. So it's a good way to start.
Yeah, totally.
So today's a really good opportunity. Since speaking with Shelley last week and getting her on to talk about deloads, we thought it'd be really good to expand on how you can progress in the gym and generally as a bodybuilder, where, it's not as linear as we'd like it all the time. So sometimes it can be quite hard, which again, we touched on last week, to feel like you're progressing all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're quite hard on ourselves as bodybuilders as a general rule of thumb, and that's why we're part of an extreme sport.
100%. I mean, I think if you haven't got like a clear goal, you can be quite complacent. You can get quite complacent in your training. Like you can go into the gym and you can start to think, okay, I'll just do this and I'll do that and I'll do a little bit of this, but not have much focus. And that can really start to demotivate you. And then that process of thinking, like you're talking there, where you just start to maybe guilt trip yourself that you're not working hard enough, maybe you aren't as focused, maybe you've decided, let's just hypothetically say you've come off the back of the stage and you've taken a wee bit of time off, you're going back in the gym, but you have maybe not been given a proper plan, which we've seen a lot, from said coach, or maybe you're doing it yourself and you don't have a focused kind of exit strategy. That's very challenging in itself. There's multiple different sort of periods through your training cycles, no matter who you are, no matter what goal it is, that you're going to have points where you're lost a little bit. And that's when goal setting and understanding how to set goals in the gym in between maybe bigger goals that are going to really help you stay on track.
Yeah, I think, like you said, their post-show is a massive one.
Yeah.
And we've mentioned countless times on the pod where it's either sometimes the client that's being coached feels that they maybe don't need a coach after the show. And potentially we've even heard the horror stories of coaches that sort of drop clients post-show, and actually that could be in regards to progression and where you're going to go as a competitor. That's actually more important sometimes than having the prep coach. So they've both got massive implications as to how you're going to progress and how you're going to feel.
Yeah, we've spoken about this, haven't we, so much. And it's not like that we're wanting to focus on the negative side of the sport, but I'm just going to be really honest about this. It is rife, that post-show drop. You have been on it for prep, great, done, fantastic, coach drops, and just is nowhere to be seen or heard, or you start to try and interact and get more feedback from them, and they've changed their maybe priority in terms of your current goal. And it's a really embarrassing side of the sport that I feel needs to be, I think all of us as coaches have to take we've said this, but take a responsibility for the person, not just the athlete, or the person going through the training, but the person post-show. And there's something so exciting about that post-show period because your body's ready. It's like a sponge. It's ready to just suck everything up, get the food back to optimal levels, get that motivation and fun back to training. Because the most likely thing is at the end of your prep, you're just going through the motions. You're going into the gym, you're ticking the boxes, and that's the feedback I get. And certainly, I don't know about you, Sarah, but it's certainly how I feel towards the end of a prep. You're on such kind of you're in such a low suppressed hormonal state, and you're hungry, that training starts to become monotonous and arduous.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And you want more than anything to feel that energy back in the gym, which is what we can get from structured goal planning post-show.
Yeah, it's massive. And I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I had exactly the same experience this time around, going into my reverse diet and into my off-season phase. I had that initial, I want to stay lean.
Yeah.
And then it only lasted probably a week this time. And because I wanted to come back stronger this year, so 2022, I literally thought, what am I doing? Why am I hanging around trying to be in stage lean for elongated periods of time? And I feel like absolute shit.
Yeah.
And I just embraced the off season macros, training, etc., reduction of cardio straight away. And oh my God, the difference of how you feel. And when you think performance related, like my numbers were going up in the gym so much quicker. I was walking to the gym ready to train rather than like dragging my ass through for no reason.
Yeah. And there's that want to hold on. And I think it comes from experience. I think if I look back at first, second season, you have this sort of, or certainly second season, I remember it very well. You may have a little bit more knowledge in the bank. You love the lean look. You like to feel good, that size, if you like, and you just want to hold on to it. But you realize very quickly that that's not going to help you in any way progress. It's quite a interesting period, because that's where disordered patterns can slightly come in, if not looked at quite fast. And exactly as you said, the aim of the game, and for any coach and really for anyone who's listening post-show, is to get back to a healthy body fat level quite quickly, even though that's going to psychologically be quite difficult. But you do want to try and get there quickly, because you'll have the energy cognitively to start to adapt to the body quicker, and you'll also start to see the enjoyment of the gym, and your focus will shift from being I have to be lean to oh my God, my training, I feel great, I'm hitting PBs, I've got a great plan, I'm back in the gym with friends. Like, you can kind of really start to switch more quickly, rather than the dragging your brain through that horrible process of lean body to bigger body, because it can be very slow if you do it slow.
Oh yeah, like when I think back and I look back at my weight logs, like I would, I think because I tend to, the last 3 seasons certainly I've competed later in the year, and I've elongated it till like Christmas, so I might have competed on like October 31st, and I've dragged it out till December, because I think, oh, but I'm going to have some more flexible eating and more meals out and stuff around Christmas. So to rationalize in my own mind, I'm thinking, right, okay, so let's stay lean till then. And there's no reason other than my affiliation to being lean and wanting to keep that. But I also find that in a prep, and you can relate, I'd imagine, you actually get used to feeling like shit.
You do. And there's a bit of a switch point. I think I've spoken about this before in the pods as well, but I put prep into 3 phases. You've got phase 1, which is adjustment, phase 2, where you're starting to really understand, okay, the body's in a deficit here, and phase 3, where you're just like you're like a total machine, you're just robotic, like going. And I think it's sort of that between phase 2 and phase 3 where the switch goes, and that suppressed state becomes slightly normal. And it doesn't phase you in any way, and you're just dealing with it, because you've taught your body, you've given it new habits, you've given it a new purpose at that point. So yeah, it's it's maybe not something to be fully celebrated, but at the same time, you need the mindset at that point to continue to get you through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I talk to people about it, and being from Bognor, there's not that many competitive bodybuilders. So it's quite funny, because like when I converse with people about it, they're like, wow, that's so cool. And it takes me back to like, oh, okay, so I need to simplify what I do when I'm explaining it, and they're really interested. And every time I talk about it out loud, I'm like, God, we really do go through it. But at the time, and because we've done it so many times, and I think for me, it's heavily around the idea of it being a choice. I wouldn't ever feel like, oh, why is this happening to me? This is really hard. I don't want to do it, because I absolutely love it. But when you voice it to someone that has never really heard of bodybuilding, it's like, wow, it is quite a tough thing we go through when we go for the journey to the stage.
Yeah, it is. And it's really funny, right? Because this last week, I've been on a couple of up in Scotland here. There's a few articles and things that we've been doing this last little while. And one of the questions that the women asked me was, what else do you get from the journey other than just the physical aspect of it? And I thought that was a really interesting question. And the first thing that popped into my mind was, it was almost like it is a really spiritual journey, in the sense that you're deciding to refrain and restrain yourself from certain things and certain foods as a test of strength and character and resilience, at the same time as putting yourself through a series of events, if you like, that are going to test your physicality and your strength of mind. And then you're coming out at the end with a product or something that you've built and created yourself that then you reward yourself for. And that whole cycle is extremely cathartic, I think, and personal, very, very personal. And it is a very difficult thing to explain to somebody else who isn't, who just looks at they just look at the kind of the fabric bits of it. They just look at the kind of you eating your food, or you going to the gym twice a day, or you being up at 6 o'clock in the morning or earlier to go and do a 45-minute walk. They just look at those external plugins, if you like, but the actual reasons behind it are much more challenging to convey to just a normal person.
Yeah, because sort of what you're saying there, I agree with, in regards to, like, when you do explain it to people and they don't have any desire to do it themselves, they're like, why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah.
And I'm faced with that question a lot. And the more and more I've told people that are around me, day-to-day life, etc., they get it. But what a question to be asked, because that's it's a nice thought-provoking question, because you think, actually, this is what I get. And you can literally list so many things, even down to, when we're talking about progression, being able to cook food. Some people don't even really experiment in the kitchen, say, but when you're in a prep, I find that, you start looking at maybe different spices you could use, or, different ways to cook things to keep the fat levels down. So you're actually learning how to cook, in essence, which, that's even just a life skill. And I always talk about this on sort of Instagram and things like this, the life skills you gain from bodybuilding, including things like your resilience and all of those self-development tools, is massive.
Oh, it's gigantic. I don't think we give anywhere near as much focus on that as we should, because there is a whole self-development part of competing bodybuilding. Generally, having a goal that's bigger than yourself is you've got to go somewhere else, and you've got to have willingness to kind of open yourself up to vulnerabilities, because it's not an easy journey. And setting yourself a goal like competing, you're going to learn a hell of a lot about yourself quite quickly. And you're going to find that maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks in, when you haven't had any off-plan foods or whatever else, that there's areas of your personality or things that will come up for you that are going to be really, really, really hard. And you're going to have to sit with that. And that's when you're going to find out whether you've got the strength to be able to really understand what this is for you. Because if and we go back to other pods that we're talking about our why, if your why is not focused on this being a journey for you, for something that is bigger than the idea of just sacking it all in, then it's not going to work. Going back to the whole point of this podcast, like, the fastest way to failure is not setting an achievable goal.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's just not. I mean, not knowing exactly what it is and why you're doing it is the fastest route to you just saying that, not for me.
Yeah, and this is why it can be difficult if, sometimes people's why is, I want to step on stage, just see how it goes. And when you get into the depths of a prep, the only problem with that, it's a bit of a looser why. The only problem there is that you can get to that point where you think, I'm not feeling too good. My whole life is on hold for this. And it's just a step on stage, in inverted commas, because there needs to be almost that stronger focus. Yes, obviously getting to the stage and competing is such a big achievement, but it's making sure that that's aligning with the rest of your lifestyle, and that it's actually realistic for, that goal. And I think that people sort of have this idea in general in life that I want to achieve that, and then you start telling people, but you haven't even looked at what it's going to include.
Yeah, I know, totally. I mean, that's a really good point. I was thinking of something funny, actually, that somebody said to me in the gym. It was like a week or so ago. And he was like, right, my goal at the moment, I was like, so what are you doing? He was like, I'm just building some muscle. And I was like, okay, so what's your goal with the muscle building? Have you thought about what that looks like. And he said, I'm going to add 10 kilos of lean muscle in the next 6 weeks. Sorry. That's what he said. 10 kilos of lean muscle in the next 6 weeks. And I just looked at him, and this is perfect for this pod because
literally
he's obviously extremely ambitious and he wants to build all this muscle, which is great, which is probably what most of these guys in the gym do, and a lot of females as well. But come on, the realisticness here, 6 weeks to build 10 kilos of muscle is not going to happen. It is completely unrealistic. And it's just physically not possible unless there's some magic out there that I don't know about. And then the other thing,
have them as well, please.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Sign me up. That's exactly what I said to him. I was like, I'll come along on your ride.
I'm coming.
But you know, again, it's like setting the goal and being super realistic with this, you know, in any phase. If that's your off season, if that's your weight loss goal, if that's your marathon running, if it's your contest prep. You know, I had a consult with somebody yesterday who came to me and was like, all right, I want to compete in November. Nowhere near ready to begin to compete in November, you know, consider competing in November. And that's a tough conversation to have with somebody who has no clear understanding of what this sort of these goals entail. And that's where you need that person in your corner, your coach, your professional. You know, you wouldn't go to somebody who's somebody on the checkout at Asda and ask them for medical advice. You know, it's not, you need to go to the people who actually do this and discuss it with them and talk about it, and you will get the results without probably wasting years and years and years, or months or weeks or whatever that is, doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's such a valid point there. And, you know, with regards to getting a coach and all the things that you pour into competing, I heard a story the other day of someone that was going to compete last year, and then she put it off till this year because of COVID and stuff. And then she's again postponed it till 2023 because she's clocked up how much it's going to cost.
Yes, expensive.
And so her figure was sort of around £2,000. And I was like, is that not something you maybe had considered when you were going to do it in 2021, let alone 2022? And I think that, you know, it's not a bad thing. It's just people don't actually look into these things, like the fundamentals of, can you even afford it? Because it is expensive. When you know, your bikini could be, say, £450 to £550, shoes £80, entry fee, travel, accommodation, and the food, of course. So it is expensive. But again, I personally, and you're probably the same, as bodybuilders, we don't tend to go out and get pissed every weekend and go out and do all of these things that would potentially cost money. Whereas if you can pour the money in, you know, your free money, as it were, into a sport, it's definitely something that you're going to get rewards from. But even thinking about the cost is the bare minimum, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think that's something more prevalent now, because if I think back to when I first started, did I go checking costs of how much this was going to cost me to do this goal? No way. I didn't start to do like a little savings chart or anything like that.
You wouldn't though, would you? Because you want to get more deep. It's like, I want to do this.
Yeah, but it's like everything. It's exactly the same sort of thing as booking a holiday or going away on whatever. If you do it early enough, and you save early enough, if you map out kind of what that looks like, if you look on bikini websites, like I know for a fact, people like Miss Bikini Fitness, Black Ice, Harlequin, you know, they all have usually around winter time, like December, Christmas, like a discount sale or like a sale on, or a buy it now for, and they have like discounts on these sorts of things. And so if you're savvy with it, you can kind of keep an eye on the bikini designers, keep an eye on, you know, the shoes, places like Compact. I'm just going to shout out Compact because they're amazing.
Yeah, literally. You can get everything on there, and they're so reasonably priced as well for what they are.
Oh, they are. And she's great, you know, and like, I just think they've got it. They know how to help you guys out, and us obviously, but bearing that in mind. And again, that's about being realistic and being smart with this goal. You're thinking about all elements of it before you even come into it, and trying to be like, okay, what are all the things that are needed for this particular goal? I've got my gym membership, I've got this, I've got that, I've got, you know, I've got the food, I've got, okay, if I'm going into this, I'm going to probably cut out my Deliveroos, my cafes, my this, my whatever else. And so the two, yeah, I mean, the two will probably marry up somewhere along the line in terms of output, but it's part of that mapping out of long-term goal. Are you ready to go into it? Is everything catered for?
Yeah, I think that sort of could tie in quite nicely as well to one of our listener questions. So we did our first question box for the pod, which is cool because we can we're going to
do more of them.
Yeah, I think it'd be really nice for people to get involved, and actually, although we have a topic each time we start with, having some questions underneath, that's really cool, because you sometimes, because we've been doing it for so long as well, it's stuff that we maybe wouldn't even think about.
Yeah.
So the question came from Instagram, so Nigel_Callahan. I actually met him last year when I was doing some interviewing for the different shows. So yeah, really nice guy. So he said, what keeps you motivated to keep doing it? So off the back of considering, you know, things like the price, your setup, whether you've got things coming up in the year ahead, if you're going to go into a prep, if you've got all of those things considered and you're happy and you're ready to take on that journey, I think there's an underlying message there as well, that in regards to motivation, if you know you've set yourself up to succeed and be able to compete, I personally feel like that heightens my motivation, because I'm not worrying about, have I thought about this? Have I thought about that? Have I thought about this? Because that takes my energy in potentially like, not negatives, maybe the wrong word, but you know, when your energies are being pulled, if you say can't afford the pair of shoes for your show, you know, that's going to cause you to feel demotivated because you're not actually able to bring the whole package that you maybe like to the stage.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
It's like a foundation to your motivation to then move into a prep, I feel like.
Yeah, 100%. I think so. His question was around motivation, right?
Yeah. So how do you keep motivated to keep doing it? So I guess in essence, because we've competed several times now.
I think one of the things I would say, and I don't want this to sound negative, but I'm going to start here, is willpower alone isn't enough to get you through some of it. So you need to surround yourself with things that are going to motivate you. Like, I'm really lucky because I work with competitors all the time. So I'm really motivated by seeing their results, which helps me in turn remember why I do what I do, and I continue that way. But I think if we just take that consideration, put into, or find yourself online, people who are doing similar things to you, and rather than allow that to demotivate you because you think, oh, I'm not as good enough, use that as a motivator, make some connections, meet people in your gym, and build like maybe a couple of people around you that can help you on your harder points of this journey to help you keep picked up, like me and Sarah right here. Also, I think motivation, it comes and goes. Like, I think when people say, get up and just be motivated all the time, it's so unrealistic, because we're just not, you know, some days we're going to find that we're on fire and you wake up and just everything is mapping out and it's amazing. Then some days you're going to wake up and be like, why the fuck am I doing this goal? I absolutely cannot stand eating the same food every day. And you're going to have these days, I'm going to be honest. You're just going to question everything you're doing. You're going to wonder why you've fallen into this. You're going to contradict yourself in your head. You'll probably like sit entire existence for like a day or so. And then you go to the gym on that day, you smash it, and then you think, okay, it's just been a really freaking hard day. And you take a deep breath and you start again. And on those days, because that's the days you're going to struggle, that's when you need to have your goals written down somewhere, or some big, for me, what I do is I write them down and I put them up where I visually can see them. And that might look like this is the actual goal, or it might look like a quote. Like, I've got a lovely one on courage that I have in the other room, which is about being brave and understanding what courage looks like. Sometimes courage is just about waking up and getting through that day. It's not just about the goal in the gym and everything else. And so it's having like a few things that relate to you, that give you that intrinsic kick up the arse sometimes, that keep you motivated. But I went on a bit of a rant there, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about almost that community feel, I actually, funnily enough, had a conversation last night with Ryan, who I do the Triple Stack podcast with, that's recently started. And we were saying that his last prep, he felt that it was so much better because there was a group of them prepping together, and they'd like have a WhatsApp group, and he's prepped before, but what he was saying was, you know, some of the guys, it was their first prep and they were doing like Instagram stories saying, oh God, I feel like this, and why is this happening? And I don't know if this is right. And he would message them like, guys, you're on track. This is normal.
Yeah.
You're meant to feel like this. And yeah, it's the things that come up that you're like, is this normal?
Yeah.
And he just said that it gave him so much more motivation to continue. And on the days where he was maybe hungrier or different things that happened, you know, you put a message in that WhatsApp, or someone else is feeling starving as well, and you think, oh, we can do this together.
Yeah.
And it
exactly
makes a massive difference to motivation. Like, I'm so excited to compete this year with so many more people around me during a prep. It's just so cool.
Yeah. And I think I'm doing a little one of these whilst we're in the middle of it. You can check out the picture on the YouTube.
On YouTube and the Instagram stories.
I think as well, like one of the key things that I find with bodybuilding is there are a lot of online resources and places you can go to speak, even if you haven't like had maybe aren't like us guys who maybe have a close network yet, and that's cool, that's okay. And don't feel scared to like go starting to drop a few DMs to people who are maybe competing, or I don't know, go on a Facebook group of the federation that you're in and see who else is competing, and maybe drop a Facebook message or put a comment out and see who interacts with you, and then spark up a conversation. Part of the biggest issue I find with a lot of my first timers is they feel really isolated to begin with. They're like, I don't know anybody. It's really like nerve-wracking. And I try and get connections going as much as we can, so that you do feel like from the start you've got somebody in your corner. Like I do a community call with my guys every week on a Thursday, and we just all jump on, even if some of them haven't met, and we all speak, we talk about a particular topic. It might be something going on then, but that's one of the biggest things I find in this industry is challenging, because it's quite an isolated goal. And if you're a confident person, you might find that connection quite quickly. If you're somebody who's doing this to really build your confidence and find more kind of connection with doing something out with your comfort zone, then that connection process might be quite difficult. So it's just being brave and being bold and just making some connections, like chatting with people.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's amazing really, because like you say, really the underlying for a lot of people is going into this sport to build self-confidence, and that might be physically, that might be mentally, or a mixture of the two. Or also for me, it was almost like seeking some validation that I could be good at something. That started my journey. And I remember when I first started like listening to podcasts and things, I'd like do an Instagram story and tag a podcast, and when someone would reply, like say Revive Stronger or 3DMJ, I'd be like, oh my God, my audience have replied. And then now I like speak to Steve from Revive Stronger, and I'm like, this is
they're
so
like our buddies.
Yeah. And it's like the coolest thing, because you start building these friendships, and because it's through the mutual sport, you have that, you know, like we've said before, when you go in the gym and someone's clearly a bodybuilder and you have that like nod of approval, it's really nice feeling, because it's not arrogant for me, it's just really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And you'll find as well, like, and we said this, but the industry is super small, like so small. Like I was on a mentor call yesterday, and then it was like a group call with all the other people that were being in this group who was also being mentored by this person. And then we all jumped on the call, and I hadn't met a lot of them. And I was like, oh my God, it's you, Joe, and it's you, Steve, you know. And it's like, I was literally like, this is crazy, because you don't realize that a lot of you are probably doing the same things, but unless you've connected through something else, you don't realize maybe you're on the same journey. Does that make sense? It's bonkers.
Yeah. I think the crossover, like you say, you know, we've had Rob Latty on the pod a couple of times, and I know loads of people in the industry, and they've worked with him, but I didn't know. And then I'm like, oh, you've worked with Rob. And then you like make these affiliations when you start. I mean, to a certain degree, like you touched on a little bit earlier, you've got to put yourself out there in order to make these connections. They don't just happen, as it were. But it's a really nice feeling if it's something that you want to do for a long period of time. I mean, look at us. We started where we started. Now we have our own podcast. You've got a whole coaching team, and you know, you've got all your clients achieving many big things. But if we went back to when we started, we could never imagine we would have had so much success in the sport. And it's just such a journey, and there's so much more to come. Like 2022, we're both just like, let's go.
Yeah, there's a lot going on this year. Yeah,
there's so much going on, but I don't think really we'd want it any other way. Although at times, obviously, as we've discussed, it can be really challenging to juggle, you know, work, potentially competing yourself. For you running a show, well, 2 shows this year, it's big things. And, you know, and you've had the, you know, last year with the WNBF show, the Supernaturals, and when I started to go and help at shows, you realize what goes into a show as well. It's massive.
Oh, it's so, yeah, it's massive. It is. And it's like everything. It's like how big the goals you set yourself have got to be appropriate for you and where you are in your life. You know, some people set gigantic goals and then overshoot, and it's very demotivating when that maybe doesn't follow through. But some people will set big goals and have their kind of figuring out what that looks like mapped out so clearly and so prominently that they will just not rest until it's completed. And it doesn't mean that neither one is right or wrong, by the way. It just means that you have to find out where you are and what you're willing to do for the goal that you set yourself. And just basically achieving, like saying to yourself, right, here's what I want to, figuring out what I want to achieve. Right, put it somewhere prominent and clear. Make sure that your target to it is actually clearly mapped out and it's not going to overstretch you or be too easy.
Yeah,
that's
you want somewhere in
you want somewhere in between.
Hashtag balance.
Yeah, I know, hashtag balance. I mean, don't even get me started. It should mark a genuine change in you, but be realistically achievable. I think that's a good way of kind of putting it.
Because this is, I think, related to even the subject of the pod, you know, progression in our sport. It's not just a case of progressing and lifting more weight in the gym. You know, our journeys in itself have, for me, progressed me as a human. You know, like I just can't believe sometimes I look back at the different achievements and the different relationships I've formed in our world of bodybuilding, and I just think it's progressed me as a human being to, you know, enjoy my life. I wake up most days thinking, what's on the agenda today? I cannot wait.
Yeah,
and that in itself is massive.
Yeah, that's a big one. You've got to jump out of bed wanting to do what you do. You know, if you're jumping out, if you're struggling with the connection to why you're doing what you're doing, you're going to find that struggle every single day. And your goals you need to be passionate about your goals. Like, I love when I have a first timer and I'm working with a first timer and I see that total, like, let's do it, I cannot wait. And I do miss that, like, because it's a very different kind of motivation now for me, certainly when I'm coming into a physical goal, than it was way back then. And the biggest thing I say to them, it's like saying to a child, like, I bet a mother would say this to a child, like, when you're older, things are going to be much more challenging, so just enjoy it for what it is now. It's the same thing. It's like saying to a first timer, revel in this time, don't look at other people, stop getting worried about it, like, don't even compare yourself, because you're never going to get how fun this first year is. There's no expectations on you. You're doing this for you. You're doing it for a fun challenge. You're doing it for the fun of jumping up on stage and meeting loads of new people. Like, revel in that enjoyment of it and use that motivation fully, because you're probably never going to experience it like that ever again.
It's the conversation went like that last night when Ryan and I were talking about preps and stuff. It was that winning my first show, I said to him, it's amazing and really nice to reminisce about it, but I wish I could feel that again.
Yeah, I know.
That, like, just ultimate, like, my whole body, I actually like fell to the floor when they called my name as the winner, because I was like, oh my fucking God, I'm actually good enough to win something for the first time in my whole life. Like, obviously you win little things and stuff when you're growing up and whatever, but I've never like excelled at anything like that. And it was just like, oh my God, I'm good enough. And you can move forward. But it's so sad that I'm never going to get that actual euphoric feeling again to that degree, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do. And because there's a reality to it when you start to go further into this.
It's harder.
It's damn sight harder, because you're
so pressurizing.
There's pressure, but it's just, there's a realisticness to it that keeps you more level-headed and grounded, so you don't get that same sort of buzzy, like woo, like feeling. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still really exciting.
Yeah,
but I would say when I compete now, and the last couple of times I've competed, or certainly the last time I competed, the goal was very important. Like, it was really important to me, and so it was quite serious, actually, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
it was serious, and it was quite it had a lot of attachment to lots of other things, and so it became something different for me completely, and it was positive in its own way, but it was probably not that innocent love for just let's just go and have some fun. It was much more specific and thought about, but I have to caveat, right? You can do bodybuilding seriously, but having fun, right? What I cannot stand, and I'm just going to put it out there, this is my thing, I cannot stand everyone being so, like, doing it seriously and then being a total, like, bore, quite frankly. Like, just one-dimensional. I know this is tight, and I'm just, I don't want it to come across like that, but you've probably seen the person on Instagram who's dead serious about their goals, right? They're so serious, but everyone knows they're so serious, and that if they don't get that goal, then their life's basically not worth having, or this is all I do, or, you know, and it's just, it can be overly serious, like to the point where it can be detrimental, even people looking at it, enjoying it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's so much pressure if you're, so, you know, Instagram, things like this, if you're following those types of people, there's such an indirect pressure that you feel from that. And I've been there, like, you know, when I haven't had an off-plan meal for 6 months, and I think, well, unless I follow that protocol, I'm not a real bodybuilder. And you get pulled into this, like, you don't even know these bloody people. You don't know even what, you know, I've heard stories of people having off-plan meals and then saying they're not, to claim that they're the best coach and the best bodybuilder.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah, and I never even would have thought that would be possible, because I just think, well, for a start, what's the point? But I guess because we're sort of honest people, we wouldn't feel the need to do that. But I definitely, you know, in regards to motivation and performance and tracking that yourself, stay in your own lane, get a good coach. And for me, when I was working with Stephen, whatever he said was gospel. If he said I'm on track, I'm on track. You know,
and that's an important lesson right there. Yeah, like, trust your coach. Don't second guess your coach. Don't go off and find other information from another coach that you like the look of in the middle of the coaching relationship you've got. I know that sounds kind of a bit flippant, but I'm being serious. Like, if you have committed into the process, everyone is going to give you a different opinion. If you go away and start to think about, right, okay, I'm going to go and ask this person for if this is right, or I'm going to go and start to ask what they think about it, and then you start to second guess, and then you get confused, and then XYZ, I would question, well, where is your I wasn't going to say loyalty, that's the wrong word, because you can make your own decisions, but again, why do you feel the need to question in the first place?
Yeah,
because if you've enlisted somebody who is educated in this field, they're not going to be, unless they're absolutely terrible at what they're doing, they're not going to be doing anything different than anybody else is doing nobody else is going to be doing anything different that they're doing. It's something that you should bring up straight with the coach and say, right, I'm confused about this, because the reality of you going and asking somewhere else is probably because you're not sure about something. So you need to discuss and communicate with your coach as much as possible. But yeah, you need to walk in.
Yeah, it all feeds into that, doesn't it? Because if you're doubting your coach, you're going to be doubting yourself. You're going to be, every time you eat a meal, do a training session or whatever it is, you're going to be thinking, is this right for me? You know, how is that going to lead to any performance and motivation if you're not? Again, it goes back to, you know, doing a bit of research on things, like we said earlier about cost. Look at different coaches, look at how they work.
Yeah.
Before, reach out to people that work with them. You know, it might not be, it's not necessarily that there's bad coaches and good coaches, it's who fits for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of different coaches out there, and you've got to make the right choice. Of course there is. But there is a sort of, you have to be self-assured and ready to invest in yourself. And if you find a coach that connects with you well, go all in. That's what I'd say. Just go all in, dive deep into it. If they're getting the results, if they've shown the results with other clients, if their other clients speak of them highly, if the coach is showing you all the signs that they can get you to where you need to be, just commit. Trust. Because a good coach as well will give you the space to have your own accolade at the end of this, and shouldn't be about all shining a light on themselves. That's in my opinion on good coaching. But we could spend a whole time on coaching. Oh my God. I was just
going to say, we should do a pod on coaching.
There's so many elements to coaching.
Okay. Yeah. But, you know, it is an unfortunate side to our sport, because there is no governing body, as it were, and nothing's really monitored. You are going to come across coaches that are maybe doing it for the wrong reasons. And that's why, again, do a little bit of research and don't be shy to book some consults. And, you know, even our guests that we've had on so far, so Tom, Shelley, you've got Pro Prep, you know, it's 3 examples of people that work within the industry that we trust, that we know offer a good service, but all 3 offer a completely different service. But you could get consults with all 3 of you, say, and then go, oh, actually, I think I gel better with that one.
Yeah, you know? And that's perfect. You know, I've just taken on a girl, Annie, lovely girl. She came on a consult with me last week, and she came on and I said, okay, have you got any experience with online coaching? Has she spoken to anybody about it before? And she said, yeah, she's had 5 consults with various different coaches from different places, completely different places. And she's like, right now I'm just exploring. I want to find somebody that works for me. She knew exactly what she wanted, which I thought was fantastic. And I totally commended that. And I said, this is great, because you can now go away and really understand what these different coaches offer, what you need to get from it. And she had the right questions to ask as well, because she was considering all elements of it. And I think there's more information out there now for so many people to go away and think, right, I want to talk to this person, because they're kind of what I'm drawn to. And then you can really delve into the questions that you need to feel comfortable with. Then you're going into a coaching relationship with someone that you've set the expectations with, and they've set the expectations with you. That's where the magic happens. And I get quite a few clients in that sense that are doing their homework, and I think that's good. Really, really good. So I would encourage that.
I've had a slightly different scenario, but similar underlying message. I've taken on a new client, Victoria. She listens to the pod, and I'm her manager. She works for me as a gym instructor at work, and we did some PT sessions. And there's a few of us that keep sort of egging her on a little bit. And we're like, you've got the motivation, the discipline, the physique potential to be a competitor. And she's followed my own journey, and it's motivated her to sort of train differently and various other things. And she's just started a new plan this week with me. So it's a training plan that's bespoke to her, because she's always done sort of what she felt. And you know what it's like, you get into habits of doing exercises you like, not necessarily ones you don't like. And you know, the format of the workouts has changed because it's specific to her continuing in a growth phase and then looking to compete potentially in 2023. And it's so exciting. But she didn't look at other coaches initially because we'd built a relationship already. She knows how I work, and also she's seen what I've done in the sport, and then we've gone into the coaching relationship. So there's also that example, you know, if you're maybe friendly with someone and they inspire you and you get a gist as to how they coach, in the same regard of what we've said, shopping around, think about it, process it before you maybe go into that relationship.
Oh yeah, and I love that, because when you connect with somebody in the gym, and it happens a lot, you know, I work with a lot of people up here because we're in the gym, we're training, they see me training, we get inspired by one another, they see what they want to achieve, I help them get there. Like the gym and where you are is the best place sometimes to have a look around and see, you know, who's in your gym that motivates you, inspires you, has a good head on their shoulders, is doing it for the right reasons, is speaking on a positive message, you know, all these sorts of things to get you started on your journey. And I think like that's great, because people will naturally then fall into that if it's right for them.
It's so exciting because, you know, you mentioned earlier about when you first start out on your journey, like it's really cool as well because she's really committed to the growth phase, and that's actually quite rare until you get the tuition and various other things that a coach can offer. But this is her first proper growth phase, and she's like, I want to keep going, and I'm like, yes, let's keep going. Like, what
it's the best bit, the growing bit.
Yeah, I mean, what women do you meet generally that are that excited for the growth phase? And I'm like, this is just so good. You know,
it is.
And also we had the conversation as to when she would want to compete. And it was great because she was like, well, this year I'm looking to move house and get my first mortgage. And I've got quite a few things on. So why don't I do a growth phase and look at competing in 2023? And I'm like, this is bloody brilliant.
Yeah, like, exactly.
She's actually weighed it all up, you know, and we can get her training up to where her, you know, to match her potential, as it were. We can nail all the fundamentals, get the relationship with food spot on, all of these things that a growth phase assists with, and then go into a really good prep. And it's just like, you couldn't really ask for a much better setup. And, you know, like your client you've taken on, she's ready. She knows what she wants. Brilliant.
Yeah. It's the best. And I feel like more and more people are doing that now, which is good. You know, like talking about women who want to go in a growth phase. Like I had somebody I was speaking to last night. She was like, I don't want to get thin. I just want to get big. And I want to be thick, but full. And I just want to explore how I can just smash myself and enjoy it. And I was like, right, well, let's just take it down a little notch. Let's just bring it back into touch.
How big do you want to get?
Exactly. Like, do you want to be like full on, or is this like just toned in? Yeah, exactly. But it's so exciting to see that passion for the real, what I call the real area of work, you know, the off season, or just the growing is the fun bit. So it's nice to see more people coming in and exploring.
And so nice to nourish it, isn't it? For us as coaches, it's like, I'm so excited to see her progress as well. She's gonna be insane. Like, it's so cool. We've got one more listener question, which probably be a good way to end on a high. Yeah. So it's very different to what we've covered so far. So could just throw a little spanner in the works for us, get us thinking. So it's from _Steff. Do you know her?
_Steff.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't, but hey, wee Steff.
Hey, wee Steff. So progressing weights in line with hormonal changes for menstrual cycle. So there's a little bit of meat to the bones we can put on that.
Yes, there is. So, gosh, there's quite a lot we can say here. I'm going to move out the sun because the sun is shining in my eyes.
It's raining here.
I know. Beautiful up here in the north of Scotland. So there is some evidence to suggest that, you know, the menstrual cycle may impact training performance in a sort of a particular strength and your ability to handle volume. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the research that's been done in the area, and Andrew and I were talking about this yesterday actually, is really limited. And some studies have found a small increase, whilst others have found a decrease in strength, which suggests that overall, the majority of the studies that have been done to date, and these are evidence-based studies on impact of training during your menstrual cycle, is actually very, very little. So most of the studies have actually noted a minimal impact, if no impact at all, on strength at all. So everyone, though, when we come back to these things, because there have been some studies to show, there will be individual cases, and you should take note of how your cycle affects your performance. So, for example, I have a sheet that I use with my girls, which basically looks at what weight they are pre-menstrual and how they feel, how that fluctuates weight during cycle and how they feel. And then again, we take weight again post-cycle and how they feel. And that's a really interesting little exercise to do, because what we tend to find, or certainly what I tend to find, is that actually strength doesn't tend to change. But what does tend to change around it is the impact on the psychology. So totally. You might experience, feeling sad, might feeling down, might be feeling a bit anxious. Obviously, the physiological symptoms of it, feeling lethargic, you might be feeling quite watery. Some women, I've got a couple of girls, and myself included here, get really tight lower backs, so sore in the lower back, sore in the lower abdomen, and you could just feel a bit kind of sluggish. But I feel that there's a big difference between the psychological things that are going on and then allowing those things to impact training, and then just the impact on training itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. We've said before about very similar tie-in to when people go into prep, that a week in, they're like, I can't lift as much.
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't lift as much? You've still got plenty of fats, you've still got plenty of energy, you've dieted for 1 week. That shouldn't be an excuse for your performance to drop off. But I think you tie into these ideas of the psychological element here, where I'm on my period, so it should feel harder. I'm in prep, so it should feel harder. Yes, like you said, there is going to be cases where, some people have, like, say, a really heavy period. That could really, really affect, how you feel when you're training. But if you can try and sort of see it for what it is, and maybe go into the gym and think, actually, I don't feel that great, but I'm going to do my best. Sometimes you really surprise yourself as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it is very much a case of every individual is going to be a bit different on this one. Like you say, if you're somebody who has a very, very heavy time of the month, you may find that it's just too much for your body at that time to go in and perform. That's a good time to take a deload, which you can go and listen to on our last podcast. But the symptoms definitely may affect, I think, more so your motivation to train, and your desire to train at that time of the month, rather than them actually impacting performance. So because, you might be feeling that sort of very fluctuation up and down hormonally, you will genuinely in yourself go, oh, I feel like shit, I don't feel great, my body's really swollen, I really don't want to train, I can't train. And you're feeding yourself that narrative, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's just distinguishing between the two, though. And I think we spoke about this prior to the podcast, but like, you can put a lot of weight on focusing so much on impact of training during menarche that you actually talk yourself out of it, because you think, okay, I'm feeling this, and this. That means my training's not going to go so well, so I may as well not train. And then that's just a negative feedback loop. Whereas if we switch it around and go, okay, I feel this, and this, but I know that the evidence shows us that actually it's not going to impact my training all that much. However, I'm not feeling good, but that's because I know what's going on for me. I'm going to go and train and see how I go. And if it's a great session, awesome. If it's not, I've still trained. And that's a helpful thing there. So it's changing the narrative around it and knowing the evidence, because, and I can actually reference these evidence studies for people who want to go and have a look at, because I've got them in front of me here. There's a couple of really good ones that explain exactly in detail, a little bit more scientific detail, that what I've said today, that really strength doesn't diminish that much at all, if any. So it's worth bearing that in mind when considering when you're on.
Also, going back to when you said about tracking your menstrual cycle, potentially what I do, if I don't find this with menstrual cycle, partly because I didn't have one for 6 years, but if I knew that, So probably a good example for a bodybuilder would be if I was going to come and do a posing lesson with you for an hour, I would slightly amend my training that week. So I wouldn't do legs on the morning of, things like this. So I'd maybe do legs. If we was meeting up on the Saturday, I'd maybe do the leg session on the Sunday and train upper body on the Saturday evening and the Friday or something. So if you know that on the second day of your period and you have a period by clockwork, you could go, okay, on that second day, that's a rest day, or I'll do upper body because the legs don't take it as well. Or, there's loads of different ways you can negate it. You can do that with a coach, or, I've done that myself in the past because I know I can do that. So there's so many different options, but going back to the fundamentals of having that research-based backup that actually, unless those odd cases where it could affect quite heavily hormonally in regards to that, see how you feel, do what you can and assess it as you go and log it if you can.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I always come back to the actual clear studies. Always, because there's so much stuff flying around about menstrual cycle and training and what you should do at this part of your cycle and that part of your cycle. And I think we can micro scrutinize it till death do us part, if you like. But there is clear evidence that's been done on this, clear. And that's evolving, of course. There's still a lot more that has to be done. But I think, it's hopefully that's a robust answer to the question, because there's loads there. On
maybe I can, if you can send me over the links to the studies, I can put them in the description.
Yeah, I will. It's Thompson et al. For anyone listening and don't pick it up, Thompson et al. 2020, and also the Bayesian Bodybuilder. This is from a sports medicine paper in the Menzo-Henselman adaptation of impact on training for menarche. So I'll send them both over to you, Sarah, and we'll put them in the pod for anyone who wants to go find them. Yeah,
that would be awesome. I mean, what an episode, Steph. We haven't done one of these sort of longer ones for a while because we had guests and things, but I really like it when we come back to, when you get quite a meaty subject, you can really get stuck in. It goes organically, like we always say. We never really pre-plan these things, but I think it's such a good way to do it, and you can just cover so much. It's been a really nice session.
Awesome.
We are motivated for the rest of our day. It's raining here. You've got the sun.
I've got the sun. I'm off to speak on, would you believe, BBC Scotland in the next half hour.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'm jumping on BBC Radio Scotland at 10 o'clock. So we're speaking about bodybuilding, actually, which is bizarre. So it's very exciting. So listeners, but this will have passed by the time listeners have listened to this.
Sorry, listeners, but we're actually speaking to royalty now. She has progressed into live radio.
We're off.
So cool. It's stuff like that, though. It's like we said with progression in general. Like when you start your bodybuilding journey, you never think that you're going to be on your local radio station.
Oh, I know. It's bonkers. Who would have thought it?
Love it. Well, I look forward to tuning in if I can from down south.
Possibly, yeah. 10:10. BBC Radio Scotland, and it's a Stephen Jardine morning show. So go ahead if you fancy it, Sarah.
I'm going to be training, so I'll be tuning in if I can. Love it.
Awesome. Well, anyway, I absolutely love this. So next time we want some more topics, but we'll be discussing what we're going to jump on with.
Yeah,
and then we've got more guests lined up.
Yeah, there's so much to look forward to. So many decent guests, so many people that can just offer so much to our listeners. So
yeah,
lots to come, and enjoy your time on the radio. I look forward
Thank you.
I'll let you know if I can tune in.
For sure. I'll let you know how it goes. I'll probably fumble over my words or something.
Voice note incoming.
I know. Let's hope I don't make a complete fool out of myself, but I'm sure it'll be all right.
It is what it is. See you later.
All right, lovely. Speak soon.
Bye.
Bye.